Joining us right now is Texas Congressman Louie Gohmert. Congressman, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Maria.
Are you expecting Hillary to announce her VP pick today? And who do you think?
The truth is, I don't really care.
You don't care?
It just doesn't matter.
Really?
She's going to be at the top of the ticket, and that I think the vice president, in her case, really is irrelevant. In Trump's case, it made a difference. You know, he's a big risk taker, which always helps for foreign policy.
Yeah.
Always helps. So when Saturday Night Live had Reagan walking around going, "Where's the red button? Where's the?" That was great because your enemies need to think you're unpredictable. And that's why Trump will make a terrific president when it comes to foreign affairs. But with Hillary Clinton, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
It just doesn't matter.
I think that's right. I mean, people are voting. When they vote, they're going to vote for Hillary Clinton if they want to. But they're not going to vote for her VP pick, whereas Trump's pick for the VP was much more important. Isn't that right, Scott?
Yeah. That stability he offers with Pence, he brought in the constitutional conservatives. He actually bridged that gap between leadership, being a former congressman, and knowing his way and the ability to pass legislation, then that executive experience as a governor. Let me ask you something, Congressman. So obviously Ted and what he said the night before, how is that affecting your delegation? I mean, I've heard from many of the Texans who are saying, you know what, shouldn't have done it. We're really one party. It's really not about Ted. It's not about Kasich. It's about the party, and it's also about the direction of our country. What are your thoughts?
Well,
what's the feeling with that?
I've gotten a lot of mixed readings from so many of the Texans, both back in Texas. I'm getting messages and from people up here. But a lot of people were disappointed. And Brian Kilmeade was just giving me a hard time. I said, you know, because I'd told him before the speech, Ted's so intelligent. This is going to be very well thought out. It's going to help bring us together. And so it was rather interesting. But, you know, something else, Scott, I've heard from people who are devout Christians going, wow, so Trump comes off looking like he's the forgiving one.
Right.
Right.
And that's not exactly what some Christians were hoping for.
But looking back at the last week, are people going to, because Trump still has to worry about getting 90% of Republican voters, and he's been somewhere in kind of the mid to high 70% range, at least in some of the recent polls. Will people look back at the last week? Will they remember the Melania snafu? Will they remember Ted Cruz? Or are they going to remember last night?
It's a great
the Melania snafu, I don't talk to anybody that even thinks about the Melania snafu. There's no way they'll remember. They don't.
Oh, my mother brought it up on the phone.
Oh, really?
She said,
well,
yeah, what the heck happened there?
Oh,
That's so, and she's
people that read the Washington
voter.
Post and the New York Times, yeah, they really spend a lot of time on
and if you want to talk about speeches, let's talk about the 21 million Hillary got and the fact she has not released any of the transcripts from her speeches with Wall Street because, with respect, those speeches are she's probably doing the wink, wink, nod, nod. Hey, listen, you guys give me all your money and I'll take care of you when I get elected.
But to my point, that Trump still coming into this week had to worry about winning over some Republicans who were still on the sidelines.
But the thing Trump had going for him is, and it's all about comparison. And Maria, I know that's why you have me on the show. I make people look good when they're sitting beside me. But you look at Trump. Look at the standard, the bar he had to clear. McCain, Romney. Oh, he was glowing last night in comparison.
Romney got no bump after his convention in 2012.
I'd forgotten that, but
Zero.
it wasn't very
no bump in the
Trump
polls.
is getting a bump, right? I mean, this is helping the Trump.
Well, look at the speech last night. Who was he talking to? Unlike the Democratic convention, they're going to be talking to all of those that they're giving benefits. Trump was talking to all the people across America, the middle class that are paying the way for everybody else. Right. And I think that made it a really strong speech.
Look, the DNC released the list of speakers, and now we know that Hillary has invited the families of those lost African Americans, but she didn't invite the families of the police who were shot.
Are you telling me that Hillary's going to have 2,000 parents from Chicago whose kids have been shot on the street? Is that who she's having? All the victims?
She has some of the families are on the speaker list. Yeah,
you're talking about all of those that have been killing each other on the streets of Chicago. Those are the true victims. Those are the black lives that matter that people aren't talking about. On the streets of Chicago, on the streets of Washington, D.C., where there's so much gun control and yet you have 2,000 people shot.
Is it going to look like she's politicizing this?
Of course. She politicizes everything. That's the Playbook 101 is to divide and conquer. Us versus them, the have and the have not. Main Street, Wall Street. It's 99%, 1%. They divide so they keep everybody fighting and then pick them off one by one. And I find you're going to see such a contrast. Congressman, I know, and Dagan, you agree with this. Such a contrast with what we saw here. And I think the Occupy Wall Street, the MoveOn.org, Black Lives Matter, they're not happy with Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders selling out to the Queen of Wall Street. And there's going to be some hell to pay.
Yeah. Let's talk about Trump's speech for a minute, because it was so anticipated at the convention. Donald Trump accepting the nomination, obviously, and laying out his plans for Trump administration. Listen to this. I want to get your reaction.
I have a message for all of you. The crime and violence that today afflicts our nation will soon, and I mean very soon, come to an end. Beginning on January 20th, of 2017, safety will be restored. Americans will finally wake up in a country where the laws of the United States are enforced. We are going to be considerate and compassionate to everyone. But my greatest compassion will be for our own struggling citizens.
Did the message resonate? What do you think, Congressman?
I think it resonated very loud, very clear. I mean, the sensitivity to what's really bothering Americans was borne out. Who's talked about TSA needing fixing?
Right.
Middle America that's traveling is so sick of TSA, and boy, he plugs that in. I mean, it's on Middle America's radar, but Hillary won't notice that. And here he has his private plane, and yet he knows what's really bothering people these days. One thing you won't hear from Republicans after Hillary brings victims' families, you won't hear, unlike Hillary, you won't hear a Republican say, what difference at this point does it make? Because people are very sensitive on the Republican side to the violence, except we don't want to pander. We want to fix the problem, and I loved hearing that from Donald Trump.
Yeah. It's interesting. The party, they don't necessarily like each other. I mean, like a lot of people are sort of holding their nose and saying, okay, I'm going to get in line. The Republicans can't do that. They don't just fake it.
That's true. That's true.
It's not good.
You saw that in the booze that
you saw that
heard on Wednesday night. That one criticism of the speech last night, 75 minutes is too long. When you go past 11 o'clock at night, that's a problem. You know what? A commute and a speech should never be longer than 60 minutes.
Well, except he may have messed up in looking to Bill Clinton for the proper length of a speech.
That's a mistake.
But a difference too,
Clinton was a master.
That Hillary will have that her husband didn't have. I was asking the clerk that retired a few years ago, what's the most memorable thing that happened during your time? And he said it was Bill Clinton's State of the Union address, where the teleprompter didn't work. And he got a number of applause lines just because he was winging it. And he turns around, and I asked Stephanopoulos, he said, this is absolutely true. He said he turns around to Al Gore, facing Al Gore, Stephanopoulos on the wing, and he said, they've got the wrong speech on the teleprompter. And then he turned back, smiling, and Stephanopoulos runs out, gets them to punch out the CD, and it turned out they had the year before State of the Union, and they spent much of the speech.
That's an episode of Veep, actually. That is an episode of Veep.
That was Bill Clinton. That was Bill Clinton.
But he rolled with it. And
Hillary can't do that.
Yeah.
Well, it's not Bill Clinton's party anymore either, Maria.
Yeah.
Sorry to jump on. It's not Bill Clinton's party anymore, or JFK.
Right.
Yeah, it's Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton.
Socialist party now.
Yeah.
So
that's so true.
Stark contrast.
Congressman Louie Gohmert, good to see you. Thank you so much.